Mr. Professor Dr. Rermet Hamzah Hashim SKM MKM, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon and warm greetings for everyone. Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sriwijaya, Dr. Harton MR, Head of the Subdirectorate of Internationalization, Universitas Sriwijaya, Najma SKM MPH PhD, distinguished speaker from KIT Ilfi Leiden University, Kasetat University Thailand, and Universitas Sriwijaya, respected academics, researchers, college students, and all participants attending both on-site and online. It's a great honor and pleasure for me to welcome you to the international guest lecture and roundtable discussion entitled Heritage on the Move, Empowering Southeast Asian Culinary Tradition Through History, Tourism, and Nutrition, organized through the collaboration between the History Education Study Program of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, the Nutrition Study Program of Faculty of Public Health, and the Subdirectorate of Internationalization at Universitas Sriwijaya. This academic forum reflects Universitas Sriwijaya's strong commitment to strengthening international collaboration, interdisciplinary learning, and global academic networking. Today, event is particularly meaningful as it brings together scholars and researchers from Indonesia, Netherlands, Thailand, and Sri Lanka to discuss the interconnection between culinary heritage, historical migration, tourism, and nutritional well-being within the Southeast Asian context. We are truly honored to welcome our distinguished speaker, Professor Tom Hogevos from KIT Ilfi Leiden University, an expert in Southeast Asian history and leader of the Trajectories of Taste project, Sulaksana Demel MPhil, researches at KIT Leiden University, focusing on historical and culture trajectories of Sri Lanka Malay cuisine. Assistant Professor Dr. Korakit Komran from Kasetat University Thailand, expert in Southeast Asian tourism and culture heritage, Professor Dr. Farida Erwal Dalam MSc from Universitas Sriwijaya, expert in history, education and culture, and Ditya Fitri Arinda, SGZ MPH, lecturer from the Nutrition Study Program, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Sriwijaya, specializing in nutrition and public health. Ladies and gentlemen, food is far more than a source of nourishment. It reflects identity, collective memory, migration, culture, and social transformation. Indonesian gastronomy, particularly in culinary heritage of South Sumatra, represents centuries of interaction shaped by trade routes, colonial encounters, migration, and culture adaptation. Traditional cuisine preserves not only flavors but also historical value, local wisdom, and nutritional knowledge passed down through generations. However, in the era of globalization and modernization, many traditional culinary practices are facing significant challenges. Changes in lifestyle, consumption patterns, and the rapid growth of the modern food industry increasingly influence how younger generations understand and consume traditional foods. Therefore, discussions such as today roundtable are highly relevant in exploring how culinary heritage may continue to be preserved while remaining meaningful and adaptive within contemporary society. This forum also demonstrates the importance of interdisciplinary approach. Historical perspective help us understand the origins and evolution of food culture, while nutrition science provides scientific insight into health, dietary patterns, and food security. Meanwhile, tourism perspective highlight how culinary heritage may serve as important culture and economic asset for regional development and national identity. For Universitas Sriwijaya, this activity forms an important part of our commitment to supporting the internalization of higher education, strengthening research collaboration, and implementing the Tridharma of higher education through interdisciplinary innovation, and global academic engagements. I would also like to express my sincere appreciations and gratitude to the head of History Education Study Program, FKIP Universitas Sriwijaya, the head of Nutrition Study Program, FKM Universitas Sriwijaya, the secretariat of both study program, and moderator Dr. Yantri Agreni and Sheshi Paramita Liriska, SGZ, MGZ, the organizing committee, and the parties who have worked diligently in preparing and successfully organizing this event. My highest appreciation also goes to our international partners, KITLV Leiden University and Kasetat University Thailand, for this valuable academic collaboration. Strategic partnership such as this are essential for strengthening sustainable international academic networks and enhancing the global visibility and reputation of Universitas Sriwijaya. Distinguished speakers and participants, as we come to the end of the session, I sincerely hope that today's forum will not merely remain an academic discussion, but will continue to develop into more concrete and sustainable collaboration, particularly in joint research initiative between the Nutrition Study Program of Public Health University Sriwijaya, the History Education Study Program of Faculty Education University Sriwijaya, and our international partner institution. Interdisciplinary and international collaboration such as this whole enormous potential to produce outstanding research in food history, culture, tourism, public health, and nutrition grounded in local wisdom and with a global perspective. I strongly believe that this academic and synergy can encourage collaborative research, joint publication, academic exchange, and internationally reputable publication, including articles in top-tier journal, which are increasingly important for strengthening University Sriwijaya global academic reputation. Through this forum such as this, we hope to foster innovation, sustainable research networks, and meaningful academic cooperation that will contribute to the capacity building of lecturers, students, and institutions alike. To all students participants today, I encourage you to actively engage in discussion, broaden your academic perspective, and draw inspiration from the insight for our distinguished international scholars and experts. Finally, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to all speakers, moderators, organizing committees, institutional partners, and participants for your valuable contribution and active participation. May this forum serve as meaningful academic bridge connecting culture, knowledge, and international collaboration across nation. Thank you very much for your attention and participation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We say thank you to the Honorable Mr. Professor Dr. Ermet M. Hamzah Hashim, SKM MKM, for the gracious opening speech. And also, we also say hello and welcome to the main event of today, to the Honorable Mrs. Najman, SKM MPH, as the Internationalism Subdirect. Hello, Mrs. Najman, SKM MPH, PhD. Are you in the Zoom meeting?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so the next course of the event.
I would like to say thank you very much for Prof. Korakit from Thailand. We met in Thailand, and Prof. Pom and Sulaksana we met in Leiden, and we also connect to Prof. Farida and also the Ditya to help us to connect Sriwijaya University as well as KIT LP and also the Kasastrat University. We have a dream, Prof. Korakit, Prof. Tom, Sulaksana, Prof. Farida, and Ditya, and also as well Prof. Hamza and Prof. Hartono, and also Bu Hudaibia and the team who prepared the event today. We hope this event is a starting point to the next collaboration within the research publications, with and also as well another learning and academic process. And I hope its subdirectorate internationalization is very happy to facilitate this event with a charming help, the study program of nutrition from public health faculty, as well as study program of history. I hope this event will be successful, and we will continue to the next stage of other collaborations. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And thank you very much for the committee who prepare everything.
Thank you very much for the opening speech from the Mrs. Najman SKM MPH PhD. And now we will move on to the final opening speech as well as the officially open the course of the event today that will be presented by the Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Sriwijaya University, to the Honorable Mr. Dr. Hartono MA. The stage is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, distinguished guests and the Honorable Dean of the Public Health, Universitas Sriwijaya, Professor Dr. Hamzah Hashim, the Honorable Head of the Subdirectorate Internationalization, Sriwijaya University, Dr. Najmah, distinguished guests from distinguished speaker that I mean from the Netherlands, Thailand, and Sriwijaya University, Indonesia. Special our guests that attend online or offline, especially from the perwakilan dari Dinas Kebudayaan dan Pariwisata Provinsi Sumatera Selatan, perwakilan dari Museum Negeri Sumatera Selatan, perwakilan dari Museum TWKS, that also that 10 online modes, subdit perwakilan dari Dinas Pariwisata Kota Palembang, perwakilan Museum Sultan Mahmud Badarudin II, perwakilan Universitas Patimura, perwakilan dari Queen Raden Pata, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Universitas PGRI, and all the lecturers, students, and all the participants. It's my great honor and pleasure as Dean of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Sriwijaya, to welcome you all to this international guest lecture entitled Heritage on the Move, Empowering Southeast Asian Culinary Tradition through History, Tourism, and Nutrition. Today, gathering is very meaningful because it's bringing together scholars and researchers from different countries and academic tradition. We are honored to welcome our distinguished speaker from Leiden, in Netherlands, from Thailand, and from Sriwijaya University as well. Ladies and gentlemen, culinary heritage is not merely about food. It's about the identity, memory, migration, trade, culture, and civilization. Through culinary tradition, we can trace the movement of people. We exchange of the ideas and the transformation of the societies across Southeast Asia. As the university in Palembang, we are proud to have one of the Indonesian iconic culinary heritage, pempek. Pempek is more than a delicious dish. Historical is reflect the interaction between local Malay culture and China's influence along the Musi River trade routes centuries ago. The use of fish and sago flour demonstrated how local communities adapted natural resources into a culinary identity that survives until today. Moreover, pempek has become part of the culinary, tourism, and culture diplomacy. When visitors come to Palembang, they do not only taste food, they experience history, local wisdom, and social harmony. This is why discussions on the culinary heritage are highly relevant not only for historians but also educator, tourism expert, nutrition researchers, and policymakers. We hope this international lecture will strengthen academic collaboration, intercultural understanding, and future research networks among our institutions. To our students, I encourage you to learn effectively from this forum. Great civilization preserve their heritage while innovating for the future. Before I conclude, allow me to present a short pantun. From Musi River, the boat gentle away. Stories all spices travel far away. Friend from Leiden, Thailand and Sriwijaya University unity today. Together preserving heritage in a brighter way. And another one, pempek served with chuko sweet and bright. Culture and history shining inside. May this lecture inspire knowledge tonight, a guide our future and wisdom and light. Finally, by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I officially open the International Guest Lecture. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We appreciate the highest thank you to the Honorable Mr. Dr. Hartono for officially opening the event today. But before we continue on to the sharing session from the speaker, let us together say hi to our beloved 5 speakers today. And for the first, Professor Tom Hugerfors. How are you, Professor? Are you in there? I say again to Professor Tom Hugerfors from Leiden University. Are you in a Zoom meeting right now with us?
Okay.
All right, and for the second speaker, Mrs. Sulakshana Demel MPhil from Historical and Cultural Researcher in Trajectory of Taste. Are you in there? I say again to Sulakshana Demel BA MS MPhil. Are you in there in the Zoom meeting? All right. Hello, Professor Tom Hugerfors. It's
Hello.
nice to see you here. All right. And for the second speaker is Sulakshana Demel as our second speaker from the Cultural Researcher in Trajectories of Tastes. Are you in there?
Hello, I'm in the meeting.
All right. It's nice to see you. All right. And for the third speaker is for our own lecturer is Professor Dr. Farida MSE. Hello, Professor. All right. Just for your information, Professor Farida is currently with us in the same building, the one we held the event with. And for the fourth speaker is Assistant Professor Dr. Korakit Komgran, PhD from Kasetsrat University, Thailand. Are you in there?
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir. It's been a very pleasant to meet you here. I hope we are work very well with your explanation of the history itself. Thank you very much, sir. And for our next and last speaker is Mrs. Ditya Fitri Arinda, SGZ MPH, Nutrition Study Program, Universitas Sriwijaya. Are you in there?
Yes, hello.
Hello to Mrs. Ditya as our speaker today. I hope the entire event we held today will be run smoothly and without any meaningful obstacle. I mean, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that's all the 5 speakers of today. But we also have to say hi to our greatest moderator that will be guide the rest of the event today. The first moderator is Dr. Yentri Anggraini. Are you in there?
Yes, I am here.
All right. Hello to Dr. Yenti Anggraini. And for the next moderator is Mrs. Sesi Pramita Liriska, SGZ, MGZ. Are you in the Zoom meeting right now with us?
Okay, I'm here. Thank you.
All right, we bid. Welcome to Mrs. Sesi Pramita. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and today we shall arrive in our been awaited long course of the event is the speaker session of presentation. And for your information to dear 5 speakers, the presentation time of each speaker is 15 minutes. All right, before we go to the speaker session, we would like to set up a prayer so the things today will get smoothly. To Brother Al-Hafiz, the stage is yours.
Baiklah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin this event with a prayer. Allow me to lead the prayer in the Islamic way, while those of other faith are keenly invited to pray according to their own beliefs and traditions. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi washabbihi ajmain. Hamdan syakirin, hamdan na'imin, hamdan yuafi ni'ama wa yukafi'u mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbahi li jalali wajhikal karimi wa azimi sultanik. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma inni nas'alukal ilman nafi'an wa rizqan thayyiban wa amalan mutaqabbalan. Allahumma inni nas'aluka salamatan fid din wa afiyatan fil jasad wa ziyadatan fi ilmi wa barakatan fi rizqi wa taubatan qabla al maut wa rahmatan indal maut wa maghfiratan ba'dal maut. Ya Allah, Tuhan yang Maha Pengasih lagi Maha Penyayang, pada hari ini kami berkumpul dalam kegiatan kuliah umum dengan tema Global Sriwijaya Intercontinental Research Bridge serta Heritage on the Move Empowering Southeast Asian Culinary. Ya Allah, limpahkanlah rahmat, taufik dan hidayah-Mu agar seluruh rangkaian kegiatan ini berjalan dengan lancar, penuh keberkahan serta memberikan manfaat yang luas bagi dunia pendidikan, penelitian dan masyarakat internasional. Ya Allah, jadikanlah pertemuan ilmiah ini sebagai jembatan persaudaraan, kolaborasi, dan pertukaran ilmu antar bangsa dan antar budaya. Tumbuhkan semangat persatuan, toleransi, dan saling menghargai di antara seluruh peserta yang hadir pada hari ini. Ya Allah, berkahilah para narasumber, dosen, peneliti, serta mahasiswa yang hadir pada hari ini, serta seluruh pihak yang terlibat dalam kegiatan ini. Berikanlah kemudahan dalam menyampaikan ilmu yang bermanfaat, melahirkan gagasan-gagasan baru, serta membuat kerjasama internasional dalam pengembangan sejarah, budaya, dan warisan kuliner Asia Tenggara. Ya Allah, jadikanlah warisan peradaban Sriwijaya dan kekayaan kuliner Asia Tenggara sebagai sumber inspirasi bagi generasi masa kini dan masa depan. Tanamkanlah rasa cinta terhadap sejarah, budaya, dan identitas bangsa, serta jadikan ilmu yang kami peroleh hari ini sebagai cahaya yang kemajuan dan bermanfaat. Ya Allah, bimbinglah kami agar senantiasa menggunakan ilmu pengetahuan untuk kebaikan umat manusia, mempererat hubungan antar negara, serta menjaga kelestarian budaya dan warisan leluhur. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa ilam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah innaka antal wahhab. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We thank you for Brother Hafiz for magnificent prayer that already presented to us. And for the next course of the event is the documentation section. For the participants on the Zoom meeting, we humbly request to turn on the camera, and for the participants in the building, will be directed to the committee itself. Thank you. Oke, baik. Untuk peserta yang ada di Zoom meeting, dimohon untuk kesediaannya dalam membuka kamera karena kita akan melakukan 2 dokumentasi, yaitu dokumentasi pertama di Zoom dan dokumentasi kedua yaitu di gedung. Jadi mohon untuk rekan-rekan panitia boleh peserta-peserta yang datang tolong diarahkan dan juga para tamu undangan juga diarahkan. Terima kasih. Oke, baik. Untuk slide pertama, yaitu akan dimulai dalam hitungan 1, 2, 3. Oke, lanjut ke slide berikutnya, boleh? Oke. Dokumentasi dalam 3, 2, 1. Alright, moving on to the next slide. 3, 2, 1. Alright, moving on to the next slide. 3, 2, 1. Alright, moving on. 3, 2, 1. Alright, real good. Okay, same thing. 3, 2, 1. Alright, next slide, please. 3, 2, 1. Okay, coming to the next slide. 3, 2, 1. Move up. 3, 2, 1. Okay, now for the last slide. 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you for the documentation session for all the participants on the Zoom meeting. And now, mohon izin bagi peserta-peserta yang ada. Oke, baik, untuk peserta yang ada di gedung, kita akan melakukan sesi dokumentasi. Jadi mohon dikondisifkan suasananya dan mohon untuk ibu-ibu dosen yang terhormat akan segera memandu jalannya sesi dokumentasi. Terima kasih. Untuk tim Pupdok, dimohon kesediaannya dalam mendokumentasikan kegiatan dan mohon jaga kondusivitas acara. Terima kasih. Boleh, silakan.
Apa lo ketawa-tawa?
Oh, okay. kami ucapkan terima kasih kepada segenap peserta yang berada di gedung dan juga yang terhormat tamu undangan yang sudah membersamai acara pada hari ini. Baik, mungkin mohon kondusif kita akan lanjutkan kepada sesi acara yang berikutnya. Alright, moving on to the next course of the event, if the presentation of the speaker. But let me humbly remind for all the 5 speakers is your time limit of presentation is 15 minutes. And the first session of the presentation, which contain 3 speakers at once, will be held by the moderator, Mrs. Dr. Yentri Anggraini. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you for the Master of Ceremony. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. The distinguished speakers, the Deans of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Dr. Hartono MA, and then the Vice Deans of FKIP, and also the Deans of Public Health Faculty, Universitas Sriwijaya, Professor Dr. Hamzah Hashim, SKM, MKM, all the committee, lecturers, students, and participants from various universities, and also the countries both offline in Juani Mukti rooms and also online via the Zooms. Welcome to our international guest lectures entitled Heritage on the Move, Empowering Southeast Asian Culinary Tradition Through History, Tourism, and also Nutrition. Let me introduce myself. My name is Yentri Anggraini. It is a great honor and pleasure for me to be a moderator in session 1 today. Session 1 will share together about the distinguished scholars and also 3 researchers that will share the valuable insight and also the Southeast Asian culinary heritage from the perspective of the history, tourism, cultures, and also the nutrition. We hope this kinds of discussion will broaden our understanding of how culinary tradition contribute to the cultural identity, educational development, of course, and also the sustainable tourism in Southeast Asia. Before we begin, allow me to inform you about the flow of the session 1. There will be 3 speakers as already introduced by our Master of Ceremony. The first one, the first speaker will be the Professor Tom Hoge first, and then the second one will be Ms. Sulaksana Demel, and the last one will be the Professor Dr. Farida MSE. And then for each speaker, we have 15 minutes in order to present. And then after all the presentation are completed, we will continue with a discussion session, discussion also answer session. Before we start, may I kindly ask for all the participants to ensure that your microphone via Zoom meeting are mute during the presentation. Now let's begin our session. Good afternoon, Professor Tom Hoge.
Hello.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us today. It's a great honor and pleasure to welcome you to this international guest lectures. We are delighted to have the opportunity to learn from your valuable research and also insight on the Southeast Asian culinary heritage and also the cultural connection. And then before we begin about the presentation, please allow me to briefly introduce your profile to the audience. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Tom Hoge is a senior researcher at KITLP in Leiden, the Netherlands, and also an adjunct professor at Universitas Negeri Malang. He earned his doctoral degree in archaeology from the University of Oxford with specialization in Southeast Asia within the Indian Ocean world. His research also focuses on the Southeast Asian history, language, maritime network, and food cultures, and also the cultural mobility. And also, Prof. Tom has published numerous internationally recognized books and also the journal article, of course, on the Southeast Asian studies, culinary heritage, and also intercultural connection. In this today's session, he will present with the topic entitled Culinary Connection in Indian Ocean Port Cities, a lot of kue and some seafood. Please join me in warming welcome to Professor Tom Hovergus. Professor Tom, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for the introduction and good afternoon to all the organizers and university staff and participants. It's actually because of Kak Najma that we in Leiden have learned a lot about Palembang cuisine, because most of the Indonesian restaurants in the Netherlands would serve Javanese cuisine, but Kak Najma would cook delicious empek-empek and bring it to the office. So she has become our Palembang food diplomat in Leiden. And there is another exposure that I've had to Palembang cuisine. A couple of years ago, I was doing library research in Cornell in the US, and they had a specific part of the library dedicated to cookbooks from Southeast Asia. And the only Sumatran cookbook that wasn't about Padang food was the one that I will try to put onto the slide now, if you can bear with me for a little bit. Yeah. This is probably it, yeah. And I think you can see it if I move to the next slide. Yeah, okay. I suppose people can see the title of the book, right? And this is the only book that we have in sort of the international libraries that I knew about. So hopefully with this collaboration, there would also be a chance to exchange books and make sure that we in Europe read more about the academic products that are being written in Palembang. So that's a hope for me. And interestingly, this is a book about kue, which is a word that we cannot translate into English. We all know what it is, right? So I'm just going to use kue, but it's not the same as a cake. It's not the same as a cookie. It's not the same as a sweet snack. Sulakshana also knows what it means because in Sri Lanka, they also have a snack called China kue, so Chinese kue. I won't say much about Sri Lanka today because we already have a presentation about that. But one of the things I found striking about this Palembang tradition of kue is that there are so many versions of layered cakes, like kue lapis, right? As you can see, the entire front page of the book consists of layered cakes. And I can't find anything in the libraries or the archives telling me why that would be the case, but I have a theory. What I think is that a port city has played a central role in the commercial networks for many centuries, just like Palembang, and then you get influences from all over the world in the cuisine. And this is why Palembang has its own unique version of Chinese food, Indian food, Arabic food, Western food, and all of these influences also reshape the local food, as Dr. Hartono has pointed out during today's opening. And what you end up is a very cosmopolitan cuisine, which nevertheless stays faithful to its own flavor profile. And I think you see the same phenomenon in other port cities like Semarang, Penang, and many other places. But now I ask, why is it especially noteworthy to have such a diversity of layered cakes? And my argument is layered cakes are one of the earliest examples of a mixed cuisine involving European and Asian elements. So let's have a look at one of the other recipes, if I can do that. Okay. So what we see in this recipe, because I use recipes as documents as well, is a lot of eggs, and that means an elite dish because eggs used to be very expensive. Then we have tepung terigu or wheat flour, which was a Portuguese introduction into Asia. you needed to make bread. And then we see bumbu spekkel, which is the secret spice mixture, which we also have in the Netherlands because of the culinary contact with Indonesia. So you can buy that in Dutch supermarkets as well. And then we end with butter, margarine, and milk, which are considered to be Dutch introductions into at least the Indonesian archipelago. But that doesn't mean that the people of Palembang adopted Dutch dishes in their cuisine. What happened was they found some inspiration from foreigners and foreign cooking methods, but then they adjusted them so that they would match the local preferences. And I can give a very concrete example of that in the next slide, which I hope you can see now. This is bloeder, something I grew up with because in the Dutch province of North Holland, it is a traditional cake that looks very much like the Palembang version that you see on the slide. There's one important difference. You wouldn't make 6 small ones, but you would make a very big one in the Netherlands in a special pan. And you would then cut it in slices and put part of the butter on the outside rather than making it part of the batter, the adonan. But that's really relatively minor adaptations. The reality is that wherever the Dutch East India Company had some sort of colonial presence, you would find bloeder. You would find it in the Indian city of Cochin, the Malaysian city of Malacca, several parts of Indonesia, including Palembang, and also again in Sri Lanka. So in terms of the culinary history, the Palembang cuisine wasn't the only part of the Indonesian archipelago, wasn't only a part of the Indonesian archipelago, but also of the Indian Ocean. The sort of vast body of water connecting Southeast Asia to the Indian subcontinent, the Middle East and Africa, Palembang was an important part of that. So if we go back to the layered cakes, in the Indian city of Goa, south of Mumbai, they have something that might look very familiar to some of us. I think this is pretty much what in Indonesia you would call lapis legit, only minor differences. For example, in India, it would have clarified butter or ghee, and it would also have coconut. And the name is bebinca, which in Indonesia is a different kind of kue, but still the connections are very obvious, and I want to explore them a little bit further. Let me see, go to the next slide. This to me is very interesting. On the top left of this slide, you would see a shrimp dish from Goa in India, and it's called belacan. It's not fermented like in Southeast Asia, but it's nevertheless very clear that they are related. And below that, you find the local version of dodol. And in the middle, you'll find the local version of wajik. And to the right, you find the local version of sambal. And interestingly, all of these localized Indonesian dishes you would find across the Indian Ocean, also in Sri Lanka. So I'm interested in the history of these culinary connections, specifically when these influences were disseminated. Because just now I mentioned the colonial period, but even before Europeans learned how to navigate to Southeast Asia, there had been important religious networks connecting Sriwijaya, in particular, to the Indian Ocean. And it was also in this period that Indonesians learned how to sail as far as Africa, because the population of Madagascar still speak Austronesian languages. But in none of these regions, with the exception of Sri Lanka, we find all of these Indonesian culinary influences, as you see on the slide. So I think that didn't take place in the medieval period, but in the 16th century, when the Portuguese were trying to gain a foothold in the Indian Ocean. And the reason we don't find any of this in the Portuguese archives is because not everything, I think, has been preserved. And also because they didn't write about cooking, they wrote about economics. But nevertheless, if there was one people able to simultaneously introduce tepung terigu and cooking with butter and eggs, and using ovens to bake bread and cake, and facilitate all of these connections between Goa, Cochin, Colombo, Malacca, Macau, and Indonesia, it would have probably been the Portuguese. And so with that in mind, I want to make two arguments, one relating to possible research directions that we could take, both in Asia and in Europe, and another one connected to food diplomacy. So I'll start with the research directions. For the past 2 years, as you can hopefully see on the slides, this is my institute. Together with the researchers in my project, we have been studying the way that Indonesian cuisines change when they are brought to Sri Lanka, to South Africa, and to Suriname. And it might be a little bit early to tell you all about our results because most of the field work will still be done in this semester. But what I can say is this, even with a large number of colonial archives now becoming digital and publicly available, this type of research cannot be done in libraries. And this is because knowledge isn't typically written down if it's about cuisine, unless people had specific reasons to do so. So in other words, everything we find in the archives is part of a much greater story that preliminary lives in the collective memory of communities. But at the same time, we encounter cuisines that are hidden from the public. So sometimes people with Indonesian ancestors open warungs or restaurants in Suriname, in South Africa, or in Sri Lanka, but they will only sell about 8 dishes that people are familiar with, and everything else is cooked only for the family or during religious celebrations. But they would never write about it. So unless you go there and do culinary field work, it is as if these localized Indonesian cuisines only exist in a very reduced form. What we're trying to do is document the richness, also in terms of adjusting to new places and new ingredients. And that, I think, is where the very fascinating story lies of connections. I also want to reconnect with cuisines that, say, historically intersected with the Indonesian cuisine. I will now show you an image that I took some time ago in Suriname, where there is a Javanese community, and to appreciate both the similarities and the differences between them. But doing so also carries a political risk. So in Southeast Asia, most of the politicized, let's say, conflicts are about which country had a certain dish first, as we all know. But in Sri Lanka and in South Africa, the battle is different. It is which ethnicity had it first. So sometimes people can't accept that sambal or dodo comes from Indonesia because local people make it as well. And as people in academia, like we all are, it's our job to write about the story behind these culinary encounters. How did we end up where we are today? But then what about food diplomacy? Most people think you can only be a diplomat of a specific country. But I think we could and should have diplomats of cities as well, like Kak Najma, who has been Leiden's diplomat of Palembang. I think at one point we should also sit together with all of these food diplomats of Cape Town, of Goa, of Cochin, of Macau, Penang, Palembang, all of the port cities, and incorporated all of the influences from across the world, but still, and I think this is the most important thing, managed to hold on to their unique, specific traditions of their own. Thank you. That was it for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Tom, for the insightful presentation. We have learned that culinary heritage is more than simply food. It represents the history, identity, yeah, the cultural exchange, also the collective memories across the generations. From this historical culinary connection in Indian Ocean port cities to the pre first of Sri Lanka, Malay, and the food tradition, and the importance of the history education in the safeguarding local heritage, and all the presentation have shown us how food connect people, cultures, country, and also dealing with diplomacy. Okay, thank you very much. Let's continue to the second speaker. Okay, our second speaker is Miss Sulaksana Denau. Hello, Miss. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Okay.
I hope you can
Okay.
hear me. I'd
Yeah.
appreciate if you can run my slides as I speak because I'm having a technical issue in sharing my screen.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Host will handles. What about the host? Can you share screen for the Miss Laksana slide? Okay. Before that, while waiting for the host in order to prepare for the slide, I'm going to introduce our second speaker, Miss Laksana Demel. Has whole BA and also Master of Science and also Master of Philosophy degrees, is affiliated with KR KITLP, yeah, then also the Leiden University, and her academic interests include cultural heritage, food history, and identity within Southeast Asian communities. In this session, he will present insight into Sri Lanka Malay culinary tradition and how food preserves cultural memory and also heritage across the country centuries. Please welcome Ms. Laksana Demau. The floor is yours. 15 minutes to present.
Thank you, madam. Good afternoon to everybody. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. First of all, I will take you through the journey, a very short journey of Sri Lankan Malays in Sri Lanka and how their foods have changed and adapted since their arrival in Sri Lanka. To the south of India, below Tamil Nadu, is a small island in the shape of a teardrop where I call home. The turbulent political past of this island is illustrated in its name change from Serendib, as the Arabs called us, Ceylan, as the Dutch called us, or Ceylon, as the British, or Sri Lanka in its post-independence name after nearly 5 decades of colonization. Its location in the Indian Ocean that allured a thriving trade in the past meant that people from Chinese to Arabs to Europeans crossed its ports. The attraction of its thriving trading ports drew attention of many, including a Javanese Buddhist monarch called Javaka Chandrabhanu, who ruled parts of the island in mid-1200s. And later the Portuguese, the Dutch, and finally the British. The army that came with Japanese Buddhist monarch Chandrabhanu had stayed behind according to our recorded historical chronicles. Later, the presence of the Dutch East India Company in Sri Lanka, then Ceylon, from mid-17th to late 18th century, created a very complex web of cultural exchange that extended far beyond trade and governance. Among its lasting legacies is a distinctive culinary fusion shaped by the movement of people across the VOC's vast maritime empire. In particular, the interaction between Southeast Asian Malay communities and local Sri Lankan traditions produced a unique strand of food culture that still persists to date. The VOC was not merely a trading entity, but also colonial power that transported soldiers, laborers, political exiles, and enslaved people between its territories, including present-day Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, and Sri Lanka. As a result, a Malay community emerged in Sri Lanka, often referred as the Sri Lankan Malays. This community brought with them culinary traditions rooted in the spice-rich cuisines of the Malay archipelago, which blended over time with the local Sri Lankan ingredients and tastes. And today, this community is a little bit more than 44,000 people. Malay food culture in Ceylon, under the VOC, was shaped by both continuity and adaptation. Dishes, the Malay dishes, retained key Southeast Asian elements such as pandan leaves, fermented shrimp paste, richly spiced meat preparations. At the same time, they incorporated Sri Lankan staples like coconut milk, rice flour, and Sri Lankan local spices like cinnamon and cardamom. This resulted in a hybrid variety of dishes that are neither purely Malay nor purely Sri Lankan, but rather a product of sustained cultural interaction. And so what does this mean today to this 44,000, a little over 44,000 group of people? And that is where my research is at Keitel Bay in Leiden. I hope to spend a lot of time in the kitchens of the Malay community and document how they prepare these dishes at household level and share them in the community. That is one part of my research. And the other part of my research is also to observe and document the significant influence Malay cuisine has on the mainstream food culture in Sri Lanka. The biggest contribution of the community, the Malay community, in what makes us Sri Lankan is in the culinary heritage. And in cognizant of time, I will draw your attention to four key ingredients that they have adapted in the Malay cuisine in Sri Lanka. One is what you can see on the screen now. It's Garcinia Cambogia. I think in what you find in Sumatra, it's called Garcinia atrovidis. And I think in Malay language, it's called Asam Gulgur. So what you find in Sri Lanka is a little different to Asam Gulgur. Asam Gulgur is more citrusy than the Assam version that you get in Sri Lanka. So what the Malay community have done is that when they prepare fish dishes, certain fish dishes, especially in coconut milk, they add 1 or 2 pieces of dried Garcinia Assam Gulgur, the Sri Lankan version. How this has influenced the Sinhalese people in the neighboring neighborhoods is that they also add this Assam Gulgur into their fish dishes. Something I have also observed is that it's not only the changes and adaptation in the food, especially in this preparation of this particular fish dish with the Assam Gulgur, is not only in the adaptation of ingredients, but also in the material culture of the kitchen. Like, for instance, to many Malay community members I have spoken have said that how they love the local clay pots in Sri Lanka and how they have used the clay pots to make, as you can see, a clay pot here in their cuisine, in cooking both fish and meat dishes. And moving on to meat dishes, as you can see in the slide, something that they have introduced upon arriving to Sri Lanka most probably is curry leaves, because that is something that is curry leaf is something that is indigenous to Sri Lanka and South India. And they garnish their beef curries with curry leaves. And the slow cooking of the curry pots, the clay pot, allows especially the beef rendang to slowly charcoal in the clay pot. And the charcoaly effect is arrived. The smoky charcoaly effect of the beef rendang is arrived through very slow cooking in a clay pot, and they garnish it with curry leaves. If you can move on, please. Yes, soup ekor, which the Sri Lankan Malays make. This takes 12 hours to prepare. I actually tried to make this dish in Leiden, but I couldn't because it takes 12 hours. One of the distinct hello, yeah, one of the distinct changes in this dish is the curry powder. The preparation of the curry powder, which in my limited discussions with the community, what they have shared is that it's closer to the Jaffna Tamil curry powder than the one that they make generally, especially for soup ekor. When you say it's the Jaffna curry powder, it has more coriander and cumin seed. So the coriander taste is quite significant in the soup ekor. The other ingredient that I would like to draw your attention is the coconut milk. So coconut milk is used in among the Malays, among the Sinhalese community and the Tamil community to make rice. It's a milk rice. Because Sri Lanka doesn't have glutinous rice like you do in Indonesia, that the consistency, that texture of the glutinous is achieved in rice by adding coconut milk. And again, slow cooking. And this is best arrived if it's slow cooked in a clay pot. So these are the 4 ingredients that I would like to draw your attention to. And when you look at the mainstream food culture, I look at the Sinhalese community in the south of Sri Lanka. The Sinhalese community is the majority community in Sri Lanka. But especially if you look at the kitchens in the south of Sri Lanka, I'm finding that it's very similar. There are quite significant similarities, especially to the food in the Sumatra island. So this is something I am researching into and would like to also find more evidence to support my arguments. But if you only just look at the geography of the island, this is something I used to wonder always, because if you stand in the southmost coast port of Sri Lanka and draw a straight line towards Indonesia, after passing Andaman Islands, the first landmass to hit, if you draw a straight line, is northern part of Sumatra Island. So, and when you look at the local folklore and the historical chronicles and the mythology that is found in the south of the country, there's a lot of evidence to say that we had a lot of pre-colonial contact with Sumatra Island and Java Island, especially in terms of trade, where groups of people from Southeast Asia used to come to this Godavaya port and stay and change sails, and after monsoon travel again. I have come across poetry, old poetry, that talks about people from East Asia coming and changing sails in this particular port. So what I would like to kind of bring attention to in my work, in my research, is that is maybe it sounds ambitious, but if I could draw attention to the fact that we had pre-colonial contact with Indonesia, and therefore the kind of cuisine that you find in the south of the country, where there is a lot of the significant number of the Malay community, Sri Lankan Malay community to date, also live in the south of the country, together with the Sinhalese community, and look at how each cuisine and has positively influenced the other cuisine. And one significant feature in the Sinhalese cuisine in the south is the addition of sugar to all the pickles, the chutneys that we make, including the sun-dried lime pickles that the Sinhalese are very proud of, which kind of stands as an identity marker of the southern food, and all the sambal that which they also actually call sambal. The word sambal is used in the local colloquial language. So that's what I would like to highlight on. I would end here, but if there are more questions later from the audience, I'm very happy to respond. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Laksana, for the excellent presentation and meaningful insight for us. Yeah, we have learned about Sri Lanka Malay culinary tradition and also about the heritage across the centuries in Sri Lanka Malay culinary. Now we arrive at our third speakers for session 1. Please welcome Professor Dr. Farida MSI on site in Juwani Mukti room. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Before you present, because we have limited time, actually, let me introduce first for our audience. Professor Dr. Farida MSI is a lecturer and scholar from History Education Faculty of the Teacher Training and Education Universitas Sriwijaya, with expertise in history education and cultural studies. Her academic contribution have greatly supported the understandings about the local history and also the cultural heritage in Indonesia. In this occasion, she will discuss about gastronomy of the river city, the Musi River historical traces in the formations of the Palembang culinary identity. Please join with us. Welcoming for Professor Dr. Farida MSI. Professor Dr. Farida, the floor is yours.
Thank you, moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Welcome to Professor Tom Hoger-Vos, Mrs. Sulaksana Dibei, Professor Korakit, Associate Professor Korakit, PhD, and Mrs. Ditya Fitri Arinda. Welcome to our room. My title is River City Gastronomy, the historical legacy of the Musi River in shaping Palembang's culinary identity. I want to speak with Ananda Sultan. Okay, so sorry, I want to present with Bahasa Indonesia. slide first, Palembang and the word truth and Musi River. Pada kesempatan ini saya ingin menunjukkan, sudah bagus ya, posisi Palembang. Oh ya, kurang naik ya. Oke. A moment. Oke. Palembang sebagai daerah yang paling strategis berhubungan dengan wilayah Nusantara, Asia Tenggara, India, Arab, dan China.
All right, let me send forth the explanation stated by Professor Farida before. Talking about culinary in South Sumatra, but first let's look at the Palembang's geography first. So Palembang, there is a huge river called Musi River. So for the entire participants, I would like to know that the area, the culinary will be. So the Palembang is divided into two sections. The first section is Hulu. The second section is Hilir. Hulu and Hilir contains a different geography. And for that, the culinary will different too. On sea, the culinary main contains fish or shrimps or some seafoods. And on the land, the culinary starts from the animals or vegetations. This action is called by Sriwijaya manuscript called Talang Tuo. Nah.
Ini Ananda kecepatan ini sudah langsung ke Sriwijaya. Kita berbicara tentang Sungai Musi dan hubungannya mengakibatkan Sungai Musi ini kita lihat mulai dari pantai, I think, mulai dari pantai timur terus masuk ke Palembang warna merah dan hubungannya dengan daerah-daerah pedalaman yang dikenal dengan nama Uluan dengan Batanghari 9 karena terdapat 9 anak sungai yang ukurannya cukup besar. Dan Palembang sebagai pusat Sungai Musi menjadi pusat peradaban, pusat perdagangan, pusat interaksi kultural, dan yang saya garis bawahi adalah pusat atau sumber dari bahan makanan. Source of food resources itu terdapat di Sungai Musi. Sekaligus juga ini akan mempengaruhi identitas kita dalam bentuk makanan kuliner.
Professor Farida states, the Palembang is the center of the Musi River. But before the time goes, Musi River is divided by 9 big rivers called Batanghari 9. It's a local call for the 9 rivers around the Palembang. And the Palembang itself, based on the historical accuracy and date, are act as a center of civilization. From its legitimation, a lot of things burn in there, just like a culture, trades, and most importantly, food. Because Palembang is located near the Sungai Musi, the main source of the food is the fish itself.
Next. Kalau tadi kita berbicara tentang ikan yang dihasilkan oleh Sungai Musi dan anak-anak sungainya yang dikenal dengan nama Batanghari 9, maka kita memiliki inskripsi tertua yaitu Prasasti Talang Tuo 684 Saya petikkan di sini isi daripada prasasti tersebut yang menyebutkan bahwa pohon-pohon yang ada di situ seperti coconut palm, areca palm, sugar palm, sago, and various other trees, ya, semuanya untuk dikonsumsi, dan di situ juga terdapat kolam-kolam dan bendungan-bendungan. Jadi artinya di sini bahwasanya melalui prasasti Talang Tuo itu telah memuat bahan makanan buat kuliner Palembang. Sungai Musi menyiapkan ikan dan segala macam kebutuhan lainnya, sementara di darat berdasarkan prasasti Talang Tuo yang dihasilkan oleh Raja Sriwijaya Sri Jayanasa memuat tentang bahan-bahan yang berguna untuk kuliner Palembang. Contohnya, kelapa itu menghasilkan gula merah, menghasilkan santan. Terus enau atau nira itu menghasilkan sagu dan gula merah. Dan satu lagi sagu, ditambah dengan yang saya sebutkan tadi, itu menghasilkan ikan dan lainnya dari kolam-kolam dan bendungan-bendungan yang ada. Jadi Talang Tua adalah merupakan landasan sejarah, landasan historis bagi bahan baku kuliner Palembang. Terima kasih.
Continue on to the explanation stated by Professor Farida. And the previous slide we learned about Musi River as the main source of the food contains a fish. But today we shall continue on the next slide is the main source of the food is also provided by land. The proof is the Talang Tuo inscription, which dates back into the Sriwijaya ruler named Srijaya Negara. In this manuscript, written that may all there planted here coconut palms, areca palms, sugar palms, sago, and various other trees bear fruits that may be consumed, and may the gardens together with their dams and ponds likewise prosper. This manuscript isn't just manuscript. It's an implementation about what the locals did to maintain their livestock. And therefore, due to its inscription contains all the culinary Palembang has on the past is based on the manuscript itself. For example, the coconut produce a coconut cream and the sago creates sago.
Okay, thank you Sultan. Kuliner Palembang yang berbasis Sungai Musi itu berkembang pada masa Kerajaan Palembang dan Palembang Sultanat. Dikatakan bahwa Sungai Musi pada masa akhir kesultanan itu menerima tamu dalam bentuk kapal-kapal sebanyak 400-an kapal setiap tahunnya. Itu datang dari mana-mana, dari Nusantara, Asia Tenggara, India, China, Arab, dan lain sebagainya. Hubungan ini mengakibat ekonomi semakin berkembang. Ekonomi yang berkembang mengakibatkan kulineri juga berkembang. Pada mulanya, kulineri itu berkembang di keraton atau di dalam istilah Kesultanan Palembang. Nantinya ketika Kesultanan Palembang berakhir pada 1825, maka kuliner yang tadinya hanya dinikmati oleh pihak keraton berubah secara bertahap dinikmati oleh masyarakat secara luas. Ini yang mengakibatkan nantinya kuliner yang tadinya posisinya elit berkembang menjadi milik seluruh lapisan masyarakat di Palembang. Inilah produk dari kuliner, sebagian dapat tampakkan melalui IE, ya, seperti pempek, celimpungan, laksan, tekwan, dan lain sebagainya. Sedangkan di sebelah kanan ini juga foto-foto yang saya ambil pada tahun 2021 ketika akan membuat buku yang saya tampakkan tadi. Ini yang putih itu pempek tunu. Yang ini lenggang yang pakai daun. Itu sangat unik ya. Tidak ada duanya di dunia ini seperti itu. Jadi semoga langsung lapar kita semua ya. Oke, ini contoh-contoh kuliner Palembang yang dasarnya semakin berkembang pada masa kerajaan dan Kesultanan Palembang. Next, ini saya tunjukkan proses mulai dari ikan segar. Ini kita ambil di pasar Kentut di 15 Ilir, dan ikan mentahnya dan sudah menjadi pempek serta tekwan. Berdasarkan Taste Atlas disebutkan bahwa pada tahun 2023 pempek menduduki posisi ranking 4 dunia, sedangkan tekwan pada tahun lalu 2025 menduduki posisi 25 dari 50 kuliner terkenal di dunia. Jadi dia sudah sangat terkenal. Dan ini bagian terakhir, Kampung Pempek 26 Palembang. Kita hanya berharap bahwa Palembang gastronomy toward its glorious glory. Amin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And
Thank you.
And for the last material, Professor Farida states that all the culinary which Palembang has today is shaped by many periodic of times. For example, start from the kingdom of Sriwijaya until Palembang Sultanate. Because each year there is about 400 ships or more that various starts from the Arab, China, India, and anyone else. And also, since the Palembang Sultanate falls in 1825, the culinary that first only accessible to the elites of the Sultanate began growing as the time goes periodically to the locals. And that's why the pempek, celimbungan, tekwan grow in the locals too. But before it only accessible for the elites, and now we locals can enjoy it. And also Mrs. Farida states that a lot of food is states and pempek is the top ranked for back in the day, and the tekwan based on the previous year is the 25th among the 50 culinary in the world. That is a great achievement. And also, Mrs. Farida states there is also a legendary folk called Village of the Pempek 26, because this is the community which every people there of the house contains a production of the pempek itself. So it's just like a jewel hidden that produce pempek as its characteristic of culture. Because pempek is not just a food, it is a very culture of the Palembang itself that shaped during many time by many factors.
Okay, thank you very much for Professor Dr. Farida MSE for the enlightening the presentations today. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the discussion session. We highly encourage all the participants, both outside and also online via Zoom, to actively engage by sharing question and comment. But because of the limitations of the time, I only provide 2 questions. One question from Joani Muktirus and then one question from Zoom. For the participant who attend in Joani Muktirum, do you have a questions, and then mention the questions, your identity, and also the question that addressed to the speakers.
Okay, thank you. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Natasha. I'm majoring in history education at Sriwijaya University. So I want to ask to Professor Tom that what we know is there are many traditional foods in Southeast Asian port cities that share similar names, ingredients, or preparation methods. In your view, how can culinary similarities help historians trace historical networks and cultural mobility across the Indian Ocean region? Thank you.
Can I answer now?
Yeah, you mean
Okay.
from the question from Natasha, the
Yeah.
students of history education. Okay, time is yours.
Okay, thanks very much, Natasha, for this important question. I think that is exactly what we're trying to do. My main example would be culinary knowledge is something that is transmitted typically in through the female line. So it's mothers, grandmothers, daughters. And that means that in the most of the historical times, it wasn't documented because it was a different way of knowing things, a different mode of knowledge. So that means that a lot of history isn't documented. And then if you focus on knowledge that is, let's say, more in the domestic sphere, but also of people who may not been able to read and write, then you get the fuller picture. So I think not only can we do it, but we need to do it. To get a fuller picture of history, we need to look at these hidden types of knowledges. And so what we're trying to do is exactly that. We say, let the dishes, let the cuisine speak for itself. And then we ask the people what the oral traditions have to say as well. And then we prove that there is a lot of knowledge that isn't documented in the archives. So that's what we are trying to do.
Okay, what about you, Natasha? Okay, we continue. Yeah, there is one question from Alan from Taiwan. The question is addressed to about the maybe Miss Laksana. Can you? I will read the question first. You can answer the question from Alan. Yeah. The question, how can the Southeast Asian cities such as Palembang, yes, develop their local culinary heritage into a globally recognized culinary tourism brand, similar to how Taiwan successfully popularized bubble tea? Bubble tea and jipai. Okay, I think this question is attend to Prof. Farida because it's focus on the Palembang food. Pempek ya, we just focus on the kinds of the pempek. Okay, so bagaimana gitu ya kalau Palembang, Prof. Farida, in order to like similar to how Taiwan already success and also already make the popular about the bubble tea and also how we make the Palembang heritage that's called pempek to be yeah, familiar and popular in the world. Okay, time is yours, Prof. Farida. Sultan.
Iya. Ini kayaknya Alan Ananda kita ini, ya, Alan ya.
Oh iya, sih.
Makanya akrab dengan pempek ini.
Okay.
Upaya untuk mempromosikan pempek yang pertama adalah kesiapan kita dulu untuk membuat produk ini diminati dan dinikmati di luar dari Palembang, khususnya ke luar negeri. Ketika saya riset tahun 2020, informasi menyebutkan bahwa pempek itu dijadikan oleh-oleh ke Amerika. Karena packagingnya kurang bagus, maka jatuh dan yang ya di bandara itu orang asing lainnya, dia langsung berteriak pempek. Nah ini suatu bukti bahwa makanan ini memang sudah mulai dikenal di luar kita, apalagi untuk Asia Tenggara. Pada masa Asian Games 2018 itu ada sekitar lebih dari 20 ton pempek yang dikirimkan ke Singapura dan ke Malaysia. Nah, upaya daripada agar ini lebih dikenal, saya pikir tidak terlepas dari diaspora Indonesia yang ada di luar negeri, khususnya orang-orang Palembang, untuk memperkenalkan makanan ini sehingga menjadi lebih dikenal lagi, termasuk dari Ananda Alan. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Farida, for the answers. Okay, it is the end of the session one. Overall, session one remind us that culinary heritage is a valuable cultural asset that should be preserved, studied, and promoted through education, tourism, and also dealings with the nutrition also for the future generation. On the behalf of the committee, I would like to express our appreciation to our distinguished speakers on this session one, Professor Tom Havergus and Ms. Sulaksana Demel and Professor Farida MSE for their valuable presentation, inspiring discussion today. We would like to say thank also for all the participants, both outside in Johnny Mukti Room and also this Zoom meeting for your active participation through this session. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a wonderful day and then we continue to the next session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right, we are very appreciate to our moderator, Mrs. Dr. Yentri Anggraini, and we're moving to the next session of the presentation. It will be taken by certificate. All right, and for the next session is a certificate of appreciation awarding, and for the first speaker, Professor Tom Hugerford from Leiden University, and the committee will help you the certificate.
Thank you.
All right, so the documentation team, please document this documentation. Thank you. On 1, 2, 3. Applause, guys, applause. Oh, yeah, siap. Okay, and for the next is a certificate appreciation for the second speaker called Sulaksana Demel, and for the documentation team, please. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, give a very good applause, everybody. And for the next is Professor Dr. Farida MSE. Please, for the operational team to uphold the certificate of appreciation, please. We move on to the next speaker. Kepada yang terhormat para panitia, boleh untuk penyerahan penghargaan kepada Dr. Faridah. Mohon izin sebelumnya kami undang Ibu Hudaidah selaku koordinator program studi sekaligus juga Ketua Jurusan Pendidikan IPS. Mohon izin untuk memberikan penghargaan dan juga sebuah buah tangan kepada yang terhormat Profesor Faridah yang menjadi pembicara kita pada hari ini. Boleh untuk tim Pubdoc. Moderator selanjutnya. Okay, and for the next is we will give the moderator today a certificate, and for the documentation team, please. And we thank you, Dr. Yeni Anggraini, for your effort today. So To all the audiences, we will proceed to the second session of our presentation that will be held by another moderator. And for the second moderator of the second session, we welcome Miss Sesi Paramita Liriska, SGZ, MGZ. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you to the Master of Ceremony, the Honorable Dr. Hartono, Prof. Hamzah, Bu Najma, and all the speakers, Mr. Tom, Miss Laksna, Ibu Farida, Mr. Korakit, and also Ibu Ditya. This seminar is conducted in hybrid setting, participants on site, setting in Juani Mukti, and also participants who attending online. I have to mention it's more than 450 from many institutions. Thank you for joining us today, and what an amazing committee. Welcome as well to Mr. Korakit Kumgran and Miss Ditya Fitriarinda. Thank you very much for being here with us today. So this is a very great opportunity for me to serve as the moderator in this international seminar. Let me introduce myself. My name is Sesi Paramita Liriska. I am a young lecturer at Nutrition Program, Public Health Faculty, Sriwijaya University, and I will be moderating this session. Before we begin, I would like to kindly inform all participants who join us online to keep their microphone mute during the presentation session. Each speaker will have 15 minutes to deliver their presentation. The Q&A session will begin after both speakers have finished presenting their materials. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce our first speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Korakit Kumgran from the Department of History, Faculty of Social Sciences, Kazetsart University, Thailand. Dr. Korakit currently serves as the Associate Dean for International Affairs and Educational Quality Development. He earned his PhD in Architectural Heritage Management and Tourism from Silpakorn University, Thailand, and also completed graduate studies in Asian Studies at Lund University, Sweden. His academic expertise focused on heritage tourism, cultural studies, Southeast Asian history, gender studies, and community heritage development. Throughout his career, he has published many related international research articles and conference papers. We are truly honored to have him with us today to share his valuable insight and perspectives. Please join me in warmly welcoming Associate Professor Dr. Korakit Kumgran. The time is yours.
Okay, first of all, good afternoon, everyone from a rainy Bangkok. And of course, I'm so jealous of Tom because you have already tasted the food made by Najma. She has been with us at Kasetsart University for almost a month, but we had no chance to try your food, Najma, and I hope that we could try your food very soon. Okay, since we have only 15 minutes, and I will try to give you an overview of what I have done in a book chapter. I have just finished a book chapter called Thai Food, Culture and Identity, Culinary Traditions as Historical and Social Practice. And this is just a brief introduction of the points that I'm talking about in the chapter. It might not go into details because we have a limited of time. So I would go to the introduction. Okay, I'm sorry. I go very fast. Okay. I shall move to this. This is a photo of the food that I consume with my family almost every day. Can any of you identify which one is really authentic Thai dish? I guess it might be difficult because some of the dishes on the table are quite similar to what you consumed almost every day. You probably eat boiled egg, fried fish, shrimp soup, or egg tofu soup, and the morning glory, stir-fry morning glory. I think it's very important that we understand, just like the three previous speaker mentioned about we shared culture, and culture could be learned through practice, through schooling, through knowledge transformation or something like that. And of course, what I'm talking today based on the two conceptual framework. The first one is the heritage study. I myself, along with many heritage scholars, believe that heritage is a verb, not a noun, which means human being, just like us, we create heritage. Okay, and heritage is a business of consensus, which means heritage reflects differences and similarities. And of course, heritage reflects hierarchy and identity of groups of people. And if we take food, for example, food could be utilized as a tool to boost up economic development in a country, particularly in a tourism campaign, which I will be showing you later on. Okay. And back to the concept of heritage, you will see the three terms that interconnected to make, let's say, for example, to make one dish to be a national heritage. You could see the relationship between past, present, and future. Okay, this is the first concept that I taught in my chapter. And the second concept, I derived this concept from the cultural sociology. Most of the scholars in the food studies and gastronomy studies believe that food or cuisine is a knowledge system. What I mean by the knowledge system is that food organizes tastes and techniques, just like many speakers mentioned before. And the cuisine could be learned through practice. Of course, in the history, we don't really have a record. Even we go to the archive, we don't see any recipes of the food, but we learn to practice. And I agree with Tom that most of the food or the food process or to make food is transferred within the family, particularly for the female. Okay. And of course, food shapes proper behavior. And of course, food influenced by power and institutions. So you see the blue font on the screen. That is the main question that I asked in my chapter. How does Thai cuisine function as a system through which society produce and negotiate cultural meaning? Okay. To begin with, Thai history is quite long, might not be as long as the history of the Netherlands or the history of China, but let me begin with the history of Ayutthaya. Okay, many of speakers mentioned about the port cities, and Ayutthaya act as an entrepot or the international trade hub during the 17th century. Being an international trade hub means there will be a multi-ethnic exchange in terms of cooking process, cooking techniques, or even the local people adapt the foreign techniques to use in their home. For example, we learn how to cook food by oil from China. We may probably receive a concept of making curry by India, and we invent a Thai dessert by the Portuguese suggestion, for example. Okay. And by having this kind of multi-ethnic exchange within the port city in Ayutthaya, we could see some differences between everyday consumption and the elite food consumption. Okay. And this is example of the royal cuisine and the history. I derived this painting from a website indicate in the slide you may access by yourself later on. It is a mural painting from the Ratanakosin period or the 18th century at a temple in Ayutthaya, depict a traditional Thai way of dining. We call it samrap or a set of dishes. Okay, you could see people sitting in a circle pattern and having food together. They use their hand, okay, before we designed to make it more modernized by using fork and spoon. And this showed the lifestyle of the eating that exists since ancient time until today, okay? And the differences is that most of the ruling class in Ayutthaya society has heavily been influenced by the external factor. For example, they import, for example, beer, wine, butter from the Western merchants and bring it into the court of Ayutthaya and preserved it only for the ruling class. But for the ordinary people, they consume what they can find in their area, and mostly fish, vegetable, and rice. Okay. And next. And the history of eating could go along like that until Thailand had changed from the absolute monarchy to be democracy in 1932. We call it a bloodless revolution, okay? And in this time of the Thai history, we could see that the reason why the leader of the People Party decided to change the political system because they want everyone in the country to be equal according to a concept of democracy, okay? And state reform shape modern eating habits as well and try to build up a national identity through food. And if we return to the previous slide, okay, in Ayutthaya, we could clearly see the differences between the ruling class and the ruled class. So the food after the revolution in 1932 served as a strategic plan to equalize people in the country. So there are three terms that the guy in the photo is one of the prime minister of Thailand, Jomphon Pipul Songkram. He emphasized that the food each family should consume should be good, healthy, and proper. Good, healthy, and proper. And he even invent a national dish, which I guess most of you may probably know it is pad thai. I don't know if how many of you know pad thai, but pad thai is an example of a nationalism created by that government. It's a state promoted dish and a symbol of modernization because it is a hybrid food that bring different ingredients from different part of the country, and it reflects a different culture in one dish. And by the end of my presentation, I will be showing you a short video clip of how Tourism Authority of Thailand utilized pad thai to promote Thai culinary to the world. Okay, and this dish became globally recognized. And it became one of the most famous dishes in the world that most of the tourists would ask for. And I would like to invite all of you, if you have chance to visit Thailand, in any part of Thailand, you could find pad thai any place in the country. And apart from the pad thai, we still have like food or street food culture. Okay, and I would like to compare street food culture with the Singapore hawker culture. Okay, and because the lifestyle of people in Bangkok, mostly in Bangkok, has rapidly changed. Okay, it's economy driving lifestyle. They need to be very competitive, and everything getting more expensive, and time is very valuable for them. So street food became popular because it is very accessible, affordable, and it of course supports urban life, and it could reflect social interactions because people from different places join together, order for food, and having food together. And of course, street food in Thailand is promoted heavily by the Tourism Authority of Thailand as a must for a tourist to try in Bangkok. You could see this kind of two photos along the street in Bangkok. And of course, one of the famous place in Thailand is the Chinatown. And you could see the food 24 hours, 7 if you like. And talking about the globalization and adaptation, Thai cuisine, of course, now today, the globalization changed the lifestyle of people, the method of cooking, the recipes, okay? But that does not change the Thai cuisine core, okay? Thai cuisine adapts while preserving flavor, balance, and identity. It is very convenient and it is delivered by, the writers. Of course, we see a lot of foreign food influence, but Thai food is still subsidized by the government and promoted globally. As you can see the photo on your left-hand side, it is a government campaign we call Global Thai Cuisine Appeal, or the Thai government project to be the kitchen of the world. And adaptation does not mean change, but it means to preserve the identity of Thai food. And now today, I'm not being so exaggerative, but you can see from the list that Thai food is now the best country for food in the world from the Reader's Choice Award in 2025. I think it's last but not least. Okay, therefore, I make it short. Thai cuisine is a dynamic system linking history, identity, and everyday life of people. And it shows a dynamic cultural system. It combines history and practice. The continuation of the Thai food is through adaptation, not rejection. And you could see a lot of global cultural power. Therefore, I would like to move back to the first slide. Thai cuisine could be explained by a concept of heritage making process. And Thai cuisine, as similar as the Indonesian cuisine, has long been socially, politically, and economically constructed. And I would like to briefly show you how the Thai government promote Pad Thai. Okay, so please give me a few seconds. Pad Thai, where is Pad Thai? Yes, here. Share. Okay. Share sound. Okay. Do you see the screen? Yes. Okay. So it's only 2 minutes.
Pad Thai was created during the regime of Field Marshal Black Pibun Songkram, signifying Thai nationalism at the time. Pad Thai has been famous since World War II. Easy to cook and healthy. Today, anyone and any nationality can enjoy the dish. Noodles are made from rice, the same grain used for rice with barbecue pork, rice with chicken, crispy rice.
Okay, I think I spent almost 15 minutes all over, so I finished my presentation here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, I have finished my presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Korakit Kumgran, for the insightful and inspiring presentation. Through the presentation delivered by Mr. Korakit Kumgran, provided valuable insight into how food is not only a source of nutrition, but also a reflection of culture, identity, history, and society. Actually, Mr. Korakit, several weeks ago, our student made pad thai during international culinary and nutrition class. We also learned about Thai cuisine and also Asian cuisine in culinary and nutrition class. Okay, this session has shown us that culinary heritage continues to evolve while preserving cultural identity, making food an important bridge between the past, present, and future. Okay, now it is my pleasure to invite our next speaker to continue today's sessions. Please allow me to briefly introduce Ms. Ditya Fitria Arinda, SGZ MPH. Ms. Ditya, are you here with us today?
Yes, Miss Ceci.
Okay, thank
Hello, good
you.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miss Ditya. Okay, Miss Ditya Fitria Arinda, SGZ MPH, is a lecturer, researcher, and dietitian on nutrition program, Faculty of Public Health, Sriwijaya University. She also research focus on functional food development from local resources, nutrient composition analysis, and community nutrition. She has published several scientific papers in the field of nutrition and public health and has actively participated as speaker, presenter, facilitator in the national and international academic activities. Please join me in warmly welcoming Ibu Ditya Fitria Arinda, SGZ MPH. The time is
Okay, thank you, Miss Ceci, for being me the moderator in this session. I would also like to express my gratitude to the Dean and all leaders of the Nutrition Study Program, Faculty of Public Health, and the Subdirectorate of Internationalization, Universitas Sriwijaya, for giving to me this valuable opportunity to share our experiences from our community service project and preserving South Sumatra traditional foods. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, all distinguished participants. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. On this special occasion, my name is Ditya Fitri Arinda. Today, I would like to present about Palembang Heritage Food, the inside story. And this is a bit information about personal profile as previously mentioned by moderator. Next. Please next. Okay, before we dive deeper into Palembang heritage food, I have a quick question for all of you. Are you familiar with these foods? What do you think their main ingredient is? This food are, yeah?
I think it's made from flour and protein.
Yes. Okay. And this would actually very similar to traditional fruit from Palembang, South Sumatra, Indonesia. And next. Do you know what this food? Next. How about these foods? Are you recognize them? What are they?
Absolutely, Miss Ditya.
Yes. South Sumatra cuisine, such as pempek and mie celor, actually shares many similarities with Southeast Asian foods that we discussed earlier. Dishes in Asia are closely connected through history, trade, culture, and geography. Next. Sriwijaya and Southeast Asian cuisine characteristic, dominance of aquatic ingredient fish and seafood. Exhaustive use of coconut milk and create rich and creamy texture. Complex use of spices and herbs. Similar cooking techniques, grinding, mixing, and flour, steaming, or boiling. Next. The similarities between South cuisine several related factors. For example, available of common ingredient, fish, seafood, and coconut. Historical maritime trade routes since the era of Sriwijaya Empire. Next. Okay, many traditional food from South Sumatra, especially snack from Palembang, besides pempek and mie celor, are starting to be forgotten. Therefore, preservation efforts are needed to protect and maintain this culinary heritage. We create a movement to preserve traditional food from Palembang through several activities. The final result in this book, entitled Palembang Heritage Food, The Inside Story. Here, the 3 reasons why we need to preserve the traditional culinary. First, the rapid change our eating habit in the modern era. People tend to consume instant or fast food in order to look fancy and ignore nutrition. Second, many young generation today include youth students forget about the existence of highly nutrition traditional culinary. Third, there is no preservation movement or community for traditional culinary. And we carry out this activity as an effort to preserve traditional from Sumatra, especially snack from Palembang. The activity include forming Bingen team, logo creation, banner installation, recording process, and creating social media account, developing a YouTube channel, and providing marketing. Next, we start by forming a dedicated, then we create a food branding logo. And next, we at the preserve house. At the same time, we document traditional recipes and thoughts. Next. To prevent the loss these traditional recipes, we develop a recipe book titled Palembang Cuisine, Heritage and Authentic Recipe as part of our presentation effort. Out of the 24 Bingen recipes we collected, several dishes show good nutritional value. For example, there's 12 from 24 Bingen foods in here. Next. Do you know that? Red bean cake, crust cake, and pandan egg pudding, cassava with melted brown sauce, and all of them. Next. Yes, and the star our Bingen foods is pempek. Pempek is a fish cake. And next. And then we use social media platform like Instagram and YouTube. You can find the documentation with keyword makanan Bingen. Next. We develop nutritional perspective on Bingen traditional food to connect traditional food heritage with nutritional science and highlight its contribution to public health. Next. Pempek. Pempek or fish cake is made from snakehead fish combined with sago flour, eggs, water, and salt and sugar. Not only provides delicious taste enjoyment, but pempek also contains a very high protein value. The high nutritional content of snakehead fish is albumin. In 100 grams of fish, there is a 6.2% albumin. Albumin from snakehead can accelerate to the healing process. The albumin in snakehead fish support tissue repair and wound healing. And then next. The green with legit taste. We call Srikayo, and pandan fragrance is the hallmark of Srikayo. This cake doesn't not contain flour, not just only sugar, pandan, eggs, and coconut milk. It tastes sweet, savory too. Although the ingredient looks easy, eggs contain iron, which play a role in the formation of red blood cells, so that it can reduce the risk of anemia. When compare the standard snack calorie recommendation, next, based on recommended dietary allowance, which is around 150 until 200 kilocalories, pempek generally tend to be less in recommended dietary allowance range in calories. But depending on portion size and preparation method. And Srikaya contains 154 kilocalories, nutritional value falling within the recommended dietary allowance range. Srikayo can still contribute positively to nutrition intake, particularly for children and adolescents who are the growth phase, as long as it is consumed in the large portion due to its relatively high sugar and fat content. And next, and another comparison between klepon and kumbu. Next. Okay. Next. Klepon provide about 132 kilocalorie per serving, meanwhile kumbu provide around 164 kilocalorie per serving, falling within the recommended dietary allowance range. Next. In conclusion, this Bingen food preservation movement has created a positive impact in documentation, promotion, and community service. Moving forward, we will focus on providing nutrition education through local food, promoting healthy eating through traditional cuisine. We believe that preserving traditional food also means promoting better public health. And we invite all of you to collaborate with us so Bingen Foods can continue to thrive and create a greater impact. Thank you, Miss Ceci.
Okay, thank you, Miss Ditya. What a wonderful presentation. I have just seen the traditional dishes from South Sumatra, Bingen food, and I also noticed the chat box was full of comments discussing their top-tier appearance and deliciousness of South Sumatra dishes. We thank you very much to both distinguished speaker, Mr. Korakit and Ibu Ditya, for the enlightening and wonderful presentation. Mr. Korakit, are you still here? Okay, with us. Okay, thank you, Mr. Korakit. Okay, now we will proceed to the Q&A session. Participants who would like to ask questions may raise your hand or write your questions in the chat box. But unfortunately, due to the limited time available, we kindly limit the Q&A session only one question. Okay? Any questions?
Excuse me, moderator, there is someone asking in the building. Please.
Okay.
Okay.
Before you ask, please mention your name and institutions and indicate to whom the questions is addressed before asking your questions. Please.
Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh semuanya. Let me introduce myself. My name is Al-Hafiz Rasya Ramadan and I'm a historical education student at Sriwijaya University. I have a question, Prof. Korakit. Are there any manuscript of historical stories about Indonesian foods influencing cuisine in Thailand, considering that Thailand had connection with the Sriwijaya Kingdom and a later during the Islamic period? Thank you, Prof. Korakit.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. You are asking about the interconnection between the ancient kingdoms of Sriwijaya in Indonesia and another Sriwijaya in the southern part of Thailand, right? And you asked about the influence of Islamic culture into the Thai society. I would like to say that since my research is only on the central part of Thailand, but I could actually see the influence of the Islamic culture into the Thai society. And it seems to me like most of the Thai people adapt very well into the Islamic culture, particularly eating culture. As the most of the Muslim people, they have some limitation. For example, they don't really eat pork, may I say. And of course, we make a food without pork that serve all people in the society. That's the way we adapt and learn how to live equally in the Thai society. If my answer react to your questions.
Okay. Has your question been answered? Any comment or response? Okay, thank you, Ms. Terkorakit. We have so many questions as expected. I already asking to the committee one final questions. Is it allowed to one final questions? I saw Felicia raise hand before. Where is Felicia? Okay, Felicia. Please mention your name and institution and indicate to whom the question is addressed. Please make your question brief and concise.
Good afternoon, Miss Ceci, and thank you, Miss Professor Korakit Komrat, for the awesome presentation. It was very interesting to hear about the whole Thai cuisine and the whole history of the Thailand culture itself. So I do have a questions. You mentioned that the continuation of Thai cuisine relies on adaptation rather than rejection, and this is actually very fascinating perspective on the culinary evolution. So, from a systematic standpoint, how does this continuous adaptation affect the perceived authenticity of the traditional dishes when they are exported to global markets? For example, like Indonesia, because Indonesia actually have a lot of Thailand restaurant right now, a lot of Thai food restaurants. So, how does this continuous adaptation affect the perceived authenticity of the traditional Thailand dishes itself? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your question, and I'm glad to hear that there are a lot of Thai restaurants in Indonesia. To answer your question, I would like to move back to a concept of heritage making process. To my understanding and to my perspective, I don't see any authenticities in food itself because we cannot really say which food is originally from which country or which specific area, but you can see the characteristics of cultural exchange of people and food. So to say which one should be authentic depends on how people in the society agree and make it to be a cultural heritage of the country. So that's why I'm saying in the beginning that heritage is a business of a majority. Okay, for example, Pad Thai. Pad Thai has been created by a government at that time and tried to make it a national dish. Therefore, Pad Thai symbolized Thai identity, which referred to democracy at that time. So my answer is to say or to judge which dish represents authentic Thai, it depends on the context of each period of time. I don't know if I answer your question or not, but this is from my perspective.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Korakit. How about Felicia? Is it your question answered clearly? Any
Yes,
response
thank
or
you.
comment? Okay,
Thank you,
thank you.
Professor
Okay,
Korakit.
thank you to Felicia. Okay, due to our limited time, we have now come to the end of the sessions. Today's seminar has provided valuable insights into how food is not only a source of nutrition, but also reflection of culture, identity, history, and society. From Miss Ditya, we learned about the important role of local cuisine and nutrition in shaping community well-being, preserving cultural heritage, and supporting future food innovation. And also today we have learned that traditional food is not only part of cultural heritage, but also an important source of nutritional value and community identity. Okay, distinguished speakers and participants, we have now come to the end of the session. As mentioned earlier by Ibu Najma, as Subdirectorate of International Relations, we hope this international guest lecture provided meaningful insights and will be the starting point of future collaboration, joint research, visiting professor, joint publication, and joint supervision in the fields of culinary heritage, tourism, nutrition, public health, and cultural studies. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to our honorable speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Korakit Kumgran and Ibu Ditya Fitria Arinda, SGZ MPH, for the valuable knowledge and inspiring perspective shared with us today. I would also like to thank all the participants for your active participation, both on-site in Juani Mukti and also online, for your participation and enthusiasm throughout the session. And for the last, I would also like to express my sincere appreciations to the organizing committee for preparing and managing this event exceptionally well. Please give a big round of applause or send your love and appreciation to the organizing committee for their hard work and dedication in making this event successfully. Stay healthy, stay inspired, and see you in future academic events. I am Ceci, I'm sign out, and now I would like to hand over the session back to the Master of Ceremony. Thank you.
You're welcome. On behalf of Sasi Paramita as the second moderator. Check. And now we arrive to the awarding of certificate appreciation to our first speaker, Association Professor Dr. Korakit Kumgran, PhD. Okay, please, the documentation team on 3. Okay, 3. And for the next speaker is the certificate of appreciation that will be held to Mrs. Ditya Fitri Arinda, SGS MPH. Okay, 2, 1. And for our extraordinary moderator today that will already present good timing management, we give Sasi Paramita as the second moderator a certificate of appreciation. So, because the documentation is already over and event today comes to an end. And now, on behalf of the committee today, and me, Sultan Ala Sifikri, as the master of ceremony, we apologize humbly on our unintentionally mistakes that may offend the selves, the guests, or the speaker itself. And see you on the event next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.